Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and it has been a hot second since I've given you a Epstein update, and for that I apologize, but I just felt like there was so much going on in the world that there was more to be covered, and there still is more to be covered. For instance, I really haven't covered Hong Kong really at all because it's such a multifaceted issue that I really want to look at it even harder than some of the others out there, but I think I'm going to get Robbie Martin on to discuss the possible intelligence ties there. However, with Epstein, let's talk about a plethora of issues. What is the media now focusing on in the Epstein case? First of all, not much, right? We're not seeing it every single day. It seems like in most cases, the victims are now being marginalized somewhat, and it's being sensationalized in the sense that they're out there, but they're not getting into the real important details or any of the co-conspirators that should be brought to justice. That's number one. Number two, they are starting to talk about these donations to certain institutes. Now, in my last Epstein video, I kind of touched on that a bit before, the resignations, et cetera, and that was with MIT. But none of this is going to be new to any of my audience. I'll show you later, but I was doing videos on the charities and the organizations he was donating to months ago on this channel, but talking about them years ago, how he had a hand in all this. And we've talked about the Bill Gates connection, and there doesn't seem to be any stepping down there. Okay. So they're focusing on that for some reason. Stanford University is the latest in that. We're going to show you that article as well. But what aren't they focusing on? Well, I think I found some pretty interesting things. Obviously, Prince Andrew, with all the hype, is getting to skate by, and no one is focusing on his arms connections. And now Les Wexner has been able to say he's a devious man, and he's had his opticals kind of shifted over to now I hate Epstein, and no one's asking questions there. Okay, so let's start off with this final mugshot, if you will. Okay, so these aren't autopsy photos or anything like that. These came out through an FOIA days ago. Again, September 11th, I did the watch along with my film Fabled Enemies. We really focused on that issues in the days running up, et cetera, et cetera. But this stuff was coming out. Now, this is blown up from a document, but, he's balding, he's disheveled. Again, media focusing on that. And then there's this side shot. You saw it all in the thumbnail. Media's focusing on that. They're not focusing as much on perhaps what I think is important, and that's Sarah Ransome's, where is she? Right here. Her first interview, okay? And how this network needs to be investigated. In fact, what I found stunning in this one is that she claims to have been raped several times in a day and tried to escape the island by swimming in shark-infested waters. Now, that's pretty heavy stuff. That's stuff that should be front page when somebody is demanding that others who helped traffic her and did this to her be brought to justice. And, again, the U.S. media not focusing on this woman's story. And this is an extensive article on the Telegraph. It's really a must-read, guys. It's an absolute 100% must-read. You've got to check this out. Man, it's a tough one. And we've mentioned her name before, and we've shown documents. But with her giving her first interview now and putting a current face to what had happened to her, wow. So now we also have it coming out that air traffickers are now on the record saying that Epstein was traveling with 11 and 12-year-old girls, right? Other independent reporters had talked about this. Obviously, Titus Frost, he vacations there. He talked to them. I mean, he was talking about this months, if not over a year ago, that, yes, 11 and 12, okay? Let me just say that again. Now, don't get me wrong. I think there was that one interview with the first television interview with one of the private investigators that was watching Epstein, and he said, he ended up being with a 13-year-old girl, and she looked like she was 9, okay? He was with 2 white girls who looked 11 to 12. I mean, it's kind of speechless when you see that sort of thing, right? So also, you know, that was, you know, one of the parts in this headline, in when, you know, again, we knew about this. Epstein would get girls younger. He would get them accustomed, and then when he was done with them, when they got too old, 16, 17 years old, he would turn them into procurers. Now, they say on more than 50 occasions this girl did this for Epstein. It actually is 70 when you scroll down right here. Right here. Let's read that. The first time you went was sometime in the summer of 2002, according to you. Is that right? Yes. And remember, these allegations, the latest indictment, the one that was the criminal charges, was from 2002 to 2005. A lot of these documents are still spilling out. We have another 10,000 pages that we're hopefully going to see, that now the lawyers are saying, hey, this isn't going to be like a dozen names. Don't get me wrong. The names of George Mitchell, Glenn Dubin, and who was the other big one was Bill Richardson, the governor of New Mexico at the time. Remember, Zorro Ranch is there. Remember, Epstein never had to register as a sex offender there. It was something I covered. You know, let's go there. I covered that 5 months ago, and the media still isn't talking about that, how the loophole of that sweetheart deal that he got had him not registering in 30 states. It's still, everybody's really silent about that. It's odd, weird. You know what I'm saying? So, continuing on here, and between the summer of 2002 and October of 2004, can you tell us how many times you went? Oh, I can definitely tell you it was over. I personally went over 50 or 60 or over 70 times. That's based on the girls that I brought. I know that I brought over 70 girls. 70 girls. So now, Les Wexner here, who, remember, everybody thinks is just like this billionaire, and he's the limited guy, and Victoria's Secret, and he's around models all the time. They don't understand his obsession with the spy game, how he's a big James Bond fan, how he just gave that mansion over to Epstein in New York, how Epstein was alleged to be really the only guy, you know, managing his money, doing God knows what for Wexner. And remember, we could talk about the mega group that he was in, but what I want to focus on to show you that Wexner was far from just, you know, this guy who's into fashion, etc., etc. No, he's an Israeli policy guy during the quote-unquote war on terror, right? So now we're war on terror policy guy. Here we go. Let's see if we can get a F11 in here because I think it deserves it. Boom. No, can't do it. Never mind. I could full screen this, but whatever. I'm ranting myself in a live stream. But this is post-Saddam, and this is how do we expand the war on terror in Eurasia with our allies, the United States. And really, it's the neocons at the time. But you know what? There weren't as many anti-war voices as there should have been, or we would never been in Iraq. We wouldn't be in Syria now. There would be no AFRICOM. It's both sides of the fence. Okay, I want to make that clear. And now the anti-war movement is terrible. I mean, they talk about the next step. The fact that Israel has remained relatively silent for the 3 months preceding the war and for the 3 weeks of the war was absolutely the correct strategy. And according to all the polling done, it worked. But as the military conflict comes to a close, it is now time for Israel to lay out its own roadmap for the future, which includes unqualified support for America and unqualified commitment to an ongoing war against terrorism. And of course, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is talked here and the perceptions there. They talk about how they want women to represent them in commercials. And take a look. Chicago, Los Angeles, Wexner Foundation, Iraq War. These are think tanks on behalf of Wexner and his group. This is the Frank Luntz report. And this is leaked, man. This isn't like they put this out in the public. It's not even really that long. 17 pages, but the last couple are pretty relative. But take a look. Iraq colors all. Saddam is your best defense, even if he is dead. The worldview of Americans is entirely dominated by developments in Iraq. This is a unique opportunity for Israelis to deliver a message of support and unity at a time of great international anxiety and opposition from some of the European allies. You see, Europe's like, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought you said Afghanistan. We were cool with Afghanistan, not so much the rest of the Middle East. What are you doing? It's a little much. But at the same time, the warmongers in the United Kingdom especially are vocal proponents of this. You know, remember the coalition of the willing? Remember that? Not everybody in Europe would sign on. But again, you know, they show how they will manipulate the latest developments. And this isn't a left-right issue. You know, I often talk about the newly formed Quincy Institute on the sides of George Soros, okay, old Lefty McGee here, and then Charles Koch. And what are they going to do? They're going to stop the forever wars together. It's a little suspect to me. I don't know. So take a good look at him. Les Wexner, he no longer buys into any of that. He's done with Epstein. He was so sick, so cunning, so depraved. If you believe that, and you believe this guy didn't know what was going on, yeah, I don't know what to say. So here we have talk from, basically this is, I guess, one of his ex-girlfriends. Okay, and the thing is that it's not written by, but the ex-girlfriend is Vanessa Gregorius, okay? And if you listen to this article about him, and I don't know whether it's whether she was just high society because she was in Vanity Fair, but it may not be an ex-girlfriend. It may be somebody who just got all this stuff, but basically talked about how he liked to play on his own terms, get people into his home. He liked things cold, lettuce in his fridge, all these nominal things. But when you go through it, there's some really important aspects. And one of the most important is literally the last thing said in this article. Okay? Miss Gregorius repeats claims that Epstein secretly taped males who visited his house. And the blackmail aspect is 100% there. Okay? This isn't just some like off-the-fly writer. Take a look. Been writing, that's a 2010 article for Vanity Fair. And a lot of the really good information has come from Vicky Ward. And I realize that Vicky Ward has connections to some of these elites. But Epstein had connections to so many people. I mean, you got to play the bouncy bounce game. I know Conrad Black is somehow related to her husband, etc., etc. That doesn't discredit the information she's put out there. Doesn't necessarily mean limited hangout. So, Gregorius has done a bunch of pieces on Epstein. They're worth reading, especially when you find out that a lot of this stuff is in those blackmail claims. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I mean, this is the real Game of Thrones. Get used to it. Just riding along. Hop along, Yorkie. Right there. There's also a bizarre claim, I don't think I included it in this round, that Courtney Love said that Prince Andrew showed up at her door after a party because Courtney Love, she's in that little black book too. She knew that organization, trying to look for sex from her. I don't doubt that. That's definitely a possibility. And once again, like I said, Stanford University, just the latest to kind of make the headlines for taking money from Epstein. But remember, all these people did, all of them. It's not an exclusive deal to just universities. Remember, Elton John's charity was taking money from Epstein. Is anybody talking about that? That should be headlines, right? I mean, Elton John's a big pop star. That's not how it works. Selective outrage. And with that being said, guys, I want you to check out a website called madcowprod.com. You know, so often in the alternative media, many of us become echo chambers of not only what's out there in the mainstream, people not digging hard enough, but what's out there in the alternative, right? I'm trying to get Whitney Webb on her last two pieces. I reached out to her today. And a few weeks ago, I had reached out to Daniel Hopsicker about his pieces on Epstein and his former work on 9/11, Muhammad Atta, and the Venice Flying Circus, his former work on Iran-Contra, the CIA, Barry Seal, with Barry and the boys. And he did get back to me this week. I have not reached back out to him, but I have his phone number now, so hopefully we're going to get him on. I have to read all these pieces. Not only before I get him on, but before we do an entire expose on this, and hopefully it'll be a two-parter, one with Daniel and one preceding that. But go to madcowprod.com. Go check out his stuff. He's probably saying things no one else is talking about. Doesn't mean I endorse 100% of it. As with anything, you know, I still get flack for putting out those videos of Tarpley and Maxwell and Griffin, et cetera, but I think they're great sources of information. And guys, hopefully you think I'm a great source of information. I may not be the best, I may be human, I may be in a Han Solo tank top right now, but I think I am heads and shoulders above the mainstream media. If you do too, thumbs this video up, share it with others, join the Burmis Brigade if you're not subscribed. We're doing this 3 to 7 times a day. You're not going to agree with everything I say. I might piss you off every once in a while. I apologize in advance. Hopefully we can work it out like human beings, and we can just take it for what it is. I might have a difference of opinion than you have, and I think that's okay too. So, with that being said, guys, I also have a GoFundMe. This is how I'm doing it. There is no Patreon. There is no Subscribe Star. This is how we keep going 3 to 7 times a day, 7 days a week. So if you can, $5, $10, $15 means the world to me. With that being said, we're going to be back with more Epstein, even maybe later today. Probably a walk and talk with Karma coming up. I love you guys, and I will see you on the flip side.